Hello and welcome to another Bushwhacker review. As you can probably tell, today is going to be a little bit different video again. We're going to be taking a look at more monster truck diecast. But the kicker is we're not going to be taking a look at the monster truck diecast you might expect. As you know right now, you have Monster Jam diecast, Greenlight has their Kings of Crunch line, Hot Wheels has their own monster truck line. We're not going to be taking a look at any of those. We're going to be taking a look at a brand new line of monster truck diecast known as Monster Machines. This is a company that's, popped up randomly last year, where they've been making, a bunch of the independent teams' trucks, as you can see right here. They've been coming out with tons of trucks since, they first popped up, last, July or August, I want to say. Most of them are, trucks that you can only buy if you go to some of those independent shows and stuff, but some of the teams sell their trucks online, and those will be the ones we take a look at today. We're going to be taking a look at a nice variety of trucks today. Some of these are big names, too, like the one in front of you, Wild Thing, back from the days of Tony Farrell. A lot of these trucks are owned by teams, and a lot of these trucks would be very recognizable to longtime Monster Truck fans. Even even Monster Jam fans. A lot of these trucks ran in Monster Jam in, the 90s, early 2000s. Some of these, anyone who's been a Monster Truck fan for, even in the past, 15 years should recognize some of these trucks, but especially a lot of these are really big 90s trucks names. So why don't we just hop right into it? First up, we do have Wild Thing. Worth pointing out that, these trucks use something very similar to what Hot Wheels uses. I don't know if they used it as, a, baseline. But, as you can see, look at the tires. This one has Hot Wheels and the Hot Wheel Flame. This one says Monster Machines and has an M on either side. But super similar rim design and tire design right there. You can see the chassis design is also very similar. This one also has the very flat pipes that Hot Wheels uses. So they definitely use the Hot Wheels as a kind of baseline for these for some reason, but I felt like just pointing that out. But first up, like I said, we do have Wild Thing, and here's a nice little hint right here. Here is the old original Wild Thing diecast made by Hot Wheels back in 2001 for their Monster Jam line. As you can see, quite a different look here, but said a lot of these trucks did compete in Monster Jam at some time, so a lot of people should recognize them. Said Wild Thing was, of course, most famously driven by Tony Farrell, now owned by BWhack Motorsports, which about a good 9 or 10 of the trucks we'll be taking a look at today are from BWhack Motorsports, because they sell theirs, but they also do just buy up tons and tons of famous monster trucks and names, as you'll see shortly. A lot of these were owned by Paul Schaefer. And I guess at one point, BWhack Motorsports just literally took, Paul Schaefer's entire inventory. So BWhack Motorsports, the guy is the guy that owns Collins Brothers Towing. As you can see on the back right there. That logo will be on all the BWhack Motorsports trucks. Like I said, this mold is just, they make the unique molds, as you can probably tell by this truck. That's why I started with this one. As you can see, they nailed the Wild Thing body. Way more so than Hot Wheels did back with that old one we just had. Just a really nice truck. Next up, we have another very famous name from the 90s. We have Carolina Crusher, most famously driven by Gary Porter. And as you can see, these diecast also, some of them do have, actual manufacturer decals. As you can see, there is a Chevy bow tie there. That's nice to see. This is their kind of generic Chevy body, or just pickup truck body, I mean. So they make a lot of unique molds you'll be seeing today, but they do have a generic pickup truck body like every monster truck line does. It's just really cool to be able to get diecast of some of these, old famous trucks like this. Next up, we have Barefoot. Famously driven and owned by Fred Schaefer. As you can see, this one, the grill is made to look kind of like the Dodge grill, because as you know, Barefoot was most famously a Dodge Ram body. See, it does have the world's fastest record time. That was always on Barefoot all the way back in the 90s. Just nail the graphics and stuff. Like I said, this is a really small time company. They only make about 2,500 of each of these trucks. The one downside is they do retail for about 20 bucks a piece. So they are definitely a little bit pricey versus, you know, like the $4 trucks that they make for Monster Jam and Hot Wheels. But for such a low number and a small company, it's kind of fair because, you know, if you look back here, like this is a Monster Jam Superstore exclusive, the 20th Anniversary Max D, and the Monster Jam Superstore exclusive trucks are 20 bucks. So the people who buy those, I don't know how you complain about these if you're anyone who buys those. Next up, we have a very recognizable truck. We have Monster Patrol. This was kind of Paul Schaefer's own truck back in the day. As you can see, again, does actually have a Chevy bow tie. I don't know if they actually got the licensing for these or not, but it is kind of cool to actually see the manufacturer details on Diecast because Hot Wheels stopped doing it. Spin Master's really never done it except for one Toyota. I mean, luckily the green light trucks back there actually use full-on manufacturer bodies. So that's nice to see. But see Monster Patrol, the, you know, big, huge spoiler wing that it's most famous for. I kind of wish they would have found a way to mold the light bar instead of just having the decal printed on there, but they at least got the spoiler, because, you know, without this huge spoiler wing, it would not be Monster Patrol. Anytime that this truck wrecked and they, like, lost the wing for a few weeks back in the 90s, it was always just, like, it looked wrong. Like, it looked bad just to see this truck without any kind of big wing on it. But again, a very famous monster truck name. Next up, we have something for Triple B Motorsports that they own that's, you know, a little bit less recognizable, and that is Whole Shot. I mean, it's recognizable, but I mean, not for long-time fans. This is part of, you know, this was a team. There was Quad Chaos and Whole Shot. As you can see, a kind of ATV body. Definitely a very unique look there. But one of the other things the Triple B Motorsports did buy up. There is also a Monster Machines diecast of the Quad Chaos truck. I'll probably get it at some point, but I just want to get one of these because, like I said, it is a very unique monster truck body to have a kind of ATV-style body for a monster truck. Like, that's not something that most people have ever done. I don't know if it's really ever been done. Once again, like I said, this company actually does make some pretty nice molds that they, you know, mold from the ground up. Next up, we have Boss Gator, which the name is recognizable to fans all the way back from the 80s of monster trucks. But this body should be recognizable to different fans, more so more modern Monster Jam fans, as this was Exterminator. It was one of these sponsored trucks. Like, Exterminator was like a product from a company, so that's why it was called that. But once the contract ran out, they kind of dumped the body and they sold it to Triple B Motorsports, who had the rights to a very classic monster truck name known as Boss Gator from the 80s. So what better thing to do than use the, you know, Boss Gator name on the kind of alligator monster truck body. As you can see, once again, a very nice molded body here. It's even got where the shocks thing come up through the actual body, or the kind of the nose, got the nostrils, the teeth. Like, they do a great job molding these bodies. They could have easily just kind of, you know, cheated and made this the old original version of Exterminator. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be Exterminator because it didn't have the sponsor, but when this truck first started as Exterminator, it was just a Ford pickup truck body. Then they, you know, later gave it this 3D alligator body. But that just looks fantastic. Next up, we have another one of the same deal with Boss Gator. We have Lone Wolf, which should be recognizable also, even Monster Truck diecast collectors, as Wolf's Head Motor Oil. As early as, you know, a few months ago, Monster Jam still released a Wolf's Head Motor Oil diecast. It was also this kind of, I thought it was more of a silver body, where this diecast is more white. Though, I don't know if it actually is more white now as it's Lone Wolf instead of being the Wolf's Head. But once again, like I said, a beautifully molded body. Teeth, the nose, the fur, the ears. This honestly looks even better than the Wolf's Head body that Spin Master made. But just really cool. Next up, we have another Triple B Motorsports. So we'll be in Triple B Motorsports for at least a couple more trucks. Here we have a very famous monster truck name, USA 1. This is one of the original OG monster truck names. Back in the 80s, you had Bigfoot, you had USA 1. Like, they were kind of, you know, big rivals. Because Bigfoot was always Ford, USA 1 was always Chevy. It was just kind of the rivalry back in the 80s, like the earliest form of like a monster truck rivalry. It's cool they brought it back, and like I said, it's cool that any of these trucks they're buying and getting the rights to, that they're keeping the vintage classic paint schemes. Like, this is exactly what USA 1 looked like. A plain white truck with USA 1 with the little red, white, and blue like America banner. Like, that is the body that Barefoot's most famous for. The look that Wild Thing's most famous for. Monster Patrol, Carolina Crusher. They didn't try to, use the names and have some, new crazy bodies or anything. They kept the iconic looks. I think that's really nice. And last of our Triple B Motorsports trucks for today, we have Barely Tame. This is another famous monster truck name back from the 80s. See, this one actually has a blue oval for Ford. It doesn't say Ford in it, so I guess they just didn't actually get the licensing for the Ford, but you can see very nice decal work on the side. I forget exactly which, if this one's a kind of more modern body or more modern paint scheme for it. I forget exactly what Barely Tame's body generally look like. I feel like I've seen this body before, or the paint scheme before, but another kind of famous monster truck name right there. Next up, why don't we hop into a current Monster Jam team. Like, this team currently does still participate in Monster Jam this season. Not so much this truck, but here we have Kamikaze, which is a truck that's currently owned by Team Throttle Monster, which a couple of the trucks we'll get to in a second should be very recognizable, as they are literally actively competing in Monster Jam as we speak. I can't remember if Kamikaze's ever really competed in Monster Jam. See, this one looks kind of strange. It's like it was dropped and then painted over. Because most of these trucks are in pretty perfect condition. Like, Carolina Crusher has a little tiny chip on it, but like, this company does seem to have decent quality control, because, like I said, most of these trucks, the decals are fine. There's no chips. Like, they're pretty good. So I can't really fault them for one little error right there. But now we'll get to a very recognizable truck, especially, like I said, in current Monster Jam. Team Throttle Monster owns a Jurassic Attack, which is a body that's been around since like the 90s. And as you can see, they actually made the current kind of cyborg Jurassic Attack. As you know, it initially was a tan dinosaur, then they made it a blue dinosaur, then it went away for a little while, and then Team Throttle Monster made a deal with Don Frankish, who was the owner of this truck, and they brought it back with a brand new kind of cyborg body. The funny thing is, Monster Jam, they do still actively release Jurassic Attack diecast, but they're always the older ones. They keep releasing the blue one. They released the purple one that was the ride truck. I kind of wish they would actually take that old body and make the original tan-colored one, but it's strange that Spin Master with Monster Jam has not actually tried to make the cyborg body yet, or even just paint their body to look like the cyborg body. But so it is really cool to get one like this. So it is odd that we're getting, active Monster Jam diecast or Monster Jam trucks in this, line for the small teams. But running out of room in the box here. Move a few trucks out of the way. Next up, we have another active Monster Jam truck. We have Vendetta. This one's weird because they gave it kind of the classic Monster Truck Willys body from like Blacksmith or Captain's Curse or whatever. But the real one of this truck, it's not a Willys body. It's like a Chevy body, I believe, from like the same era as the Willys. Like, if you actually look at the nose, it is, it's not the Willys body. So the fact they made this Willys body instead makes me think that maybe they'll release some other Willys trucks. Because there is a, what is it called, Terminal Velocity right now in Monster Jam that is a independent truck that hasn't gotten a diecast yet. So maybe they'll release Terminal Velocity as a Monster Machines diecast. We'll just have to wait and see, but really cool to get a Vendetta truck. Like I said, this is some of these trucks, like I said, are actively in Monster Jam right now. And last but not least, for the Team Throttle Monster diecast, we have Rockwell Red. This truck also did compete in Monster Jam. And as you can see, this one, they actively gave it a Ford Raptor looking body. I believe the real truck's more of kind of a trophy truck looking Raptor versus just a regular pickup truck Raptor, but the fact they actually molded like a knockoff Ford Raptor for this diecast is really cool to me. Like I said, it looks very close to a Raptor, even has Raptor-looking headlights. Has the, extra long windshield, has the, 4 doors, everything. Just looks fantastic. Next up, we should move on to another team, which also should be very recognizable to Monster Jam fans, even as early as like 10 years ago. We have Backdraft, the fire truck monster truck. Most famously used by Jeremy Slifko. I'm glad this truck's still around, too. This is always one of my favorite trucks back in the day. You know, because I've been a fan of Monster Jam since, like, the late 90s, early 2000s. And I always loved the fire truck that Backdraft was. So it's really cool this truck's still around and still getting merchandise. You can even see the photos of the lights for the Twin Towers on the back. That's basically how this truck was created. This truck was created in the early 2000s as kind of a memorial for 9/11. Definitely cool to still see it around. But if you don't want the red one, they also have the black version of Backdraft. As you can see, once again, the 9/11 Never Forget right there. Once again, a unique mold, so it's cool that they were able to give us both of the Backdrafts. I know Jeremy Slifko back in the day ran a white one as well at the World Finals the one season. Be nice to get the white one, but I don't know if the white one ever ran on this specific new body. Next up, we go to another independent team, Freedom Monster Trucks. As you can see, this is another very recognizable truck. We have Cyclops. This one's also funny because Spin Master actively made this back in like 2019 or 2020. They made a Cyclops diecast. I don't know if... I don't really remember if this ever really truly competed in Monster Jam. If it was one of those, you know, because Monster Jam makes some random diecast occasionally of trucks that, like, don't compete in Monster Jam at the time the diecast are getting released, but they're still getting diecast for Monster Jam. But is the classic Chevy body with the eyeball. And it is apparently licensed, because as you can see on the back, it actually says Chevrolet on the tailgate of this truck. You see Freedom Racing Monster Trucks. The website is where these are available. Like I said, all these trucks you see in front of you are available some way online. Next up for the same team, we have Unnamed and Untamed. Another very famous monster truck name. As you can see, once again, they actually gave it the kind of 1940s Dodge body. It's really nice to see. There you see the Freedom Racing Monster Trucks with the Facebook logo on the back. And the big American flag on the roof right there. So just really cool to see. This team actively cares about collectors, too. If you buy them off their website, it actively has a, you can select it if you're a collector who's keeping it sealed, and they'll give it extra packing and stuff. That's really cool to see. And last but not least for the video today, we're going to be taking a look at a team that should be very recognizable. All the way from the 90s all the way through now. We have Predator. The very famous cat. Owned by Alan Pizzo, and still to this day owned by Alan Pizzo. I love when people keep their names for a long time like this. Like the fact that Alan Pizzo is still racing monster trucks with the same truck and the same body design from the early 90s is just fantastic. These are available on Predator Racing's Etsy account. Like they don't have their own website, but they're sold on Etsy. Like I said, this one should be very recognizable. Let me just bust out another classic Hot Wheels diecast from the early 2000s. And as you can see, here you go, Predator. This one was a big name in Monster Jam for a long time. Much like a lot of teams, it did kind of, Monster Jam has scared away a lot of these independent teams and, long-time veterans of monster truck racing. Definitely a shame to see. It's I think Feld is just, they own too many trucks now, and there's no crush cars anymore, and I don't know. I think they were just not paying the independent teams very much, so it scared a bunch of them away. But definitely got to see that some of these are still around and still getting diecast made. Much to the same vein, we have Prowler, the sister truck to Predator. Looking fantastic as always. This one even has kind of the classic paint scheme. Once again, we'll bust out one of the classic Hot Wheels diecast here. As you can see, they've pretty much kept the same paint scheme for this one the entire time. Where Predator has changed over the years, this one is basically exactly how it's looked the whole time. The orange tiger stripes. Very, very nice to see. And, they had this mold. They made the two main ones. You've got to make the third one, too. We have Pouncer. This was definitely the less popular truck for the Predator racing trucks. Everyone loves Predator and Prowler, but less people remember Pouncer. But I'm glad they made diecast of all three. It's cool to have a set of brand new diecast for these trucks. Never really thought I'd see these diecast again, or these in diecast form ever again. Why don't we just clear a little space here and do a little bit of a kind of comparison here. Try to compare it to a few different things here. We'll just use barefoot. Like I said earlier, here is, a Hot Wheels diecast, which, like I said, since they use the same, they do look very similar together. You could put these probably with some of your Hot Wheels diecast, and you probably wouldn't really be able to tell the difference, if I'm being completely honest. But like I said, even from afar, you can see how similar the chassis is and the tires are and everything. But then let's bust out a Monster Jam Spin Master diecast. With another very famous name from the 90s, we have Boogie Van, which is just completely random. I don't know how in the world Spin Master and Monster Jam released this. Boogie Van has not competed in Monster Jam since the 90s, has never gotten a diecast, and then just out of nowhere this year, when this popped up on Spin Master's Monster Jam poster for the year, everyone was like, what? Boogie Van? What? I believe it was owned by, again, Paul Schaefer, the one that Triple B Motorsports bought all the trucks off of, so maybe they technically have the rights to this truck now? I don't know. But just a very random diecast. Here's another comparison to a truck that's just hilarious to me that this exists. For another Hot Wheels diecast, we have Thomas the Tank Engine, the monster truck. Found that a couple weeks ago at Walmart. Was like, that's hilarious that Hot Wheels made a Thomas the Tank Engine monster truck. So if you want that, look at your local stores. It's apparently in stores right now. Bust out another recent Spin Master release here for another famous old name. We have Excalibur, which looks like Star Creations is bringing back at least some point. Can't see when that truck pops back up. Back in the days of Charlie Pawkins' early monster truck career. But like I said, I really just want to kind of make a video on some of these because I think it's a really nice diecast line. Like I said, it's cool to get diecast of some of these famous truck names and such. And there's really not that many videos online about these. Like, I was looking on YouTube the other day. There's a couple, small channels that have made some content on these, but it's usually one or two specific trucks or whatever. Like, nobody's really talked about this line in depth beyond, here's some photos of this new diecast line or whatever. So I thought it would be fun to make a video of this, because I've been buying up, as you can tell by this video, I've been buying up some of these over the last couple months. Like I said, the fact they are $20 a piece means it's a little bit harder to buy. You can't buy, 20 of them at once. Some people might be able to go and buy, in a Walmart where you can just buy the, $4 monster truck diecast. Because, like I said, being $4, you can buy 5 of the trucks in stores for what you can buy for one of these. But, like I said, it is a small team company. They only make 2,500 usually of each of these trucks. Something else that's, I think, is worth pointing out is that they, when they're packaged, they come on these little cardboard dirt ramps. Very reminiscent of the old Hot Wheels Monster Jam diecast. I like that for some of these, they're actually putting detail on. For Predator here, you have some kind of cat paw prints. For Boss Gator, alligator prints. For Lone Wolf, you got wolf prints. And for Barely Tame, you have bear prints. I love little details like that. Stuff that, a lot of people probably won't even notice. There's no reason to really put them there, but they did anyways. And for some people that notice things like that, like me, I love that. That is such a fun thing, especially I wonder if you can see those, if you can see them when they're sealed, have them in the packaging like that. That is really cool. Like I said, if you want these diecast, you have to either go to some of these independent shows where they'll sell them, or some of these teams, literally everything you see in front of you today, are available online. Like Triple B Motorsports, they sell there on their site. Team Throttle Monster on their site. Like I said, Predator's off Etsy for some reason. Team Throttle Monster. The Freedom Monster Truck Racing. Freedom Racing Monster Trucks. They just made a new website just to sell these. Backdraft, I got them off their Facebook page. If you want any of these, you're going to have to, kind of do a little bit of searching. around, but just basically you just kind of have to look up what the team name is and then look up if they have a website, and some of them sell them online. So, happy hunting if you wanted these diecast, but I think that's pretty much all there is to say. This has been a review of a variety of Monster Machines diecast. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.